Welcome to Black with Sugar, your weekly podcast with Kezia Mack and Nadia Itasan. And today we have a special guest.
Hello, guys. How are you today? Nadia, how are you?
I'm good, Kezia. I just said that we had a special guest, so I thought you're going to introduce him.
Can I ask you how you're doing before we introduce the guest?
I'm good, thank you.
So, yes, today we have a special guest. We have with us Elliot Osagie, aka the Black Engineer, happened to be my business partner.
And today we wanted to talk about how music and sound can have an influence on people's behavior. And we thought about this subject because of what happened with Astroworld. And since Elliot has been working with a lot of musicians, right, artists, we wanted his opinion about what happened and how to prevent things like this. And also his opinion about how
music affects us.
Yes. Elliot, how are you? You there?
I'm good. How you doing?
Good. Very good. Well, thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. So I guess you've been watching also what happened with Travis Scott.
For sure, yeah, absolutely.
Right. What do you think about the whole deal? What is your opinion about this?
Well, I think people kind of look at Travis Scott. You know, he's not Sade when he performs. He's more like his concerts are more like a black version of like a Limp Bizkit concert, like, Lollapalooza, the mosh pit culture. So when you would have like Kid Rock and Limp Bizkit and Metallica, well, let's say more so Limp Bizkit, kids would rush to the front and, Kid Rock had the song Bow with the Bob. I get in the pit and try to love someone, and everybody would run to the front, and it would be like this mosh pit, a bunch of white boys, like bloody faces, bloody noses, so on and so forth. So the culture of a Travis Scott concert, it's not like unique to Travis Scott, but he brings that kind of energy in his shows. And so I think he got a lot of flack. I mean, it's a lot of bad things that happen at concerts all the time. But, when you're up there and that's what you're promoting, that would be like, when Kid Rock is blowing his hair and like jumping up and down, or Limp Bizkit, one of those guys are doing it. It's kind of hard for them to look down and see chaos, because the music kind of breeds that chaos. So, the energy that they're probably feeling is, something that's happening from the audience.
Yeah. So you don't think he could have prevented it?
See, that's hard to say, because, it's like we're in such a society right now. When something bad happens, you have like millions of people that talk about, they basically have a PhD in preventing what bad just happened.
Yeah.
No matter what it is, whatever it is, it doesn't matter, Kyle Rittenhouse, whatever it is, when something, after it's over, everybody knows the right thing that could have been done to prevent the thing from happening. The concerts, have been happening in this country forever. I mean, it's like and there have been tragedies at other concerts.
But never tragedy like that, though.
Now, this is a big tragedy.
It is a big tragedy, because but I've seen in the past people get hurt in concerts, or people losing consciousness, because of the heat, or because it was too crowded. So it did happen, but I don't know if he went to the extent of having, 11 deaths. So
11 or 10?
11 to now. I think right now it reached 11.
I thought it was 10. Yeah, that's awful. The thing is that, 11, Elliot, I've been watching some videos and things like that, and also about his previous performance. And apparently, I felt like he kind of encouraged, his crowd to have this type of behavior, like, when you say raucous behavior.
Like reckless, reckless behavior. Yeah. But
it's like the mosh pit. It's like a mosh pit. So the only thing I have a problem with that is that, that's what he does, right? Like, he does that. Like, he creates a mosh pit, and people come to the show with an expectation that it's going to be a high energy show. In those cases, I'm not a big festival guy, so I wouldn't know what precautions are put in a Limp Bizkit concert, but you kind of have to look at it as a Limp Bizkit concert. Now, here's the thing I would say is the difference. The fitness and the age groups of the people at the Limp Bizkit concerts, kind of like, white frat boys from like University of Georgia, University of like Tennessee, or like, University of Connecticut, they're in the mix and they're like in the mosh pit. I would say the one complication with Travis Scott is, one of the kids that unfortunately died was like a young kid. He's like 9 years old.
9 years old. And I asked the question today, why would a 9 years old be at that type of concert? Like, even if
on
it
his
was
father's shoulder.
But that's why I have a problem with that. Like, but I really have a problem that an adult take the decision to take a 9-year-old to that kind of space. He's only 9.
To that kind of event.
To that kind of event.
But the thing is that
crazy.
He didn't. I mean, I don't know if the dad knew that Travis Scott event were like this, because like I said, I think Travis Scott has a history, and apparently they have been having a lot of problem when he performed in New York City. A guy was pushed from a balcony and was paralyzed. Okay. And I saw a video where he's encouraging a guy actually to jump from a balcony. Yeah. And a lot of people, they go to those concerts, they're taking drugs. I'm not saying they're all on the drugs. I mean, that's not what I'm saying, but there is, like you said, a lot of reckless behavior.
Yeah, they're already drinking, they're high. I mean,
and it's rap music, it's hip hop, so you will expect also, a lot of people from the ghetto. Like I saw images of.
Did you say the ghetto?
She say that.
Yeah.
She say that.
I didn't say what. What's wrong with that?
Because it's because it's not because you listen to. I mean, because it's very, I think, pejorative to say that because of you are black and you listen to Travis Scott, you from the ghetto. Like
no, I said you're from the ghetto and you can be white and from the ghetto.
Yeah, but
I don't know if people going to concerts are like all from the ghetto.
That's what I'm saying. But in the type of when it's hip hop, you can expect to have more people from the ghetto than rock and roll, I guess.
Maybe it's because you're French. You keep saying the ghetto. It keeps bothering me because I'm Black American. I don't understand. I mean, but
I want to understand why.
I mean, I wouldn't say that because obviously you.
No, wait. I really want to understand. Why do you get offended by this word?
Well, the ghetto is like the projects, right?
Yeah.
And when
would you prefer me to say the project?
Well, that's even worse because I mean, listen, it's like you can't say that all Black people that listen to hip hop are ghetto or from the projects.
That's not what I said. I said some of the people going to the concert because it's hip hop concert are from the ghetto.
And unfortunately, when you say it like that, I know you're French, but unfortunately, when you say it like that, you sound like a Ku Klux Klan member from Tennessee. I'm just throwing it out there.
Okay.
So we got to teach you how to say
how to phrase it, I guess. No, I totally agree with you. I mean, I didn't know I was offending people because for me, when I say ghetto, I say, people from the project that have reckless behavior, that act reckless. That's what I mean.
Well,
people also who are not from
the
project.
And not all people from the project are actually ghetto.
Yeah,
here's the thing that let me clarify. Not all people from the project are ghetto.
And we can say that people from upper middle class also are reckless,
But why is it okay for a Black person then to say, oh, this is ghetto things, but when I said it, I sound like the Ku Klux Klan.
I personally don't think it's okay, but again, I'm not American.
Well, you're categorizing a whole group of people that are attending a concert. For an artist that's more into pop culture than hip hop culture. I mean, you're talking about an artist with McDonald's ads and his own Nike Jordan shoe.
100% agree with you because he does all of this, but actually he act like he is a counterculture. But he has a contract with McDonald's and another one with Fortnite. But in his behavior, when you see his show, he's acting like, I don't know. I mean, what is this? Normally he should be caring for his fan, all the people that came for him. Instead, he encouraged them to jump the fence, to come on stage, and I mean, he was really dismissing people that were telling him, "Stop the show."
Stop the show! Stop the show! Stop the show! Stop the show! Stop the show!
That's okay, we see real quick. Take me, let's do it.
So, but there is a problem. The problem with the show itself is there might have been people that went to the show without an understanding, like people have been locked inside for like
A long
almost a
time.
year, right? And there's a lot of built-in frustration. There's a lot of, and people are looking for things to do. And Travis Scott put a festival together, and people are like, okay, let me go. Let's go to this festival. So a lot of the people there probably didn't have an understanding of the energy of the festival, so on and so forth. And you can see there's social media posts of Travis Scott posting other people that participated in the culture of the nihilism of like his shows, like, punch each other, like pass out, do whatever, so on and so forth. But one thing you have to be careful with, because this is a mass tragedy, and it's extremely depressing. Like it's horrible that it happened. And there may be some things that could have been done to prevent it. I don't know that. You and I don't know that, but we know that there's an entire genre of music that controlled American airwaves from like the late 80s to the 2000s, where all the shows involved people rushing the mosh pit and just going crazy and and you got kids knocking each other out, getting paralyzed, so on and so forth. Now, in the case of the kid on top of his father, usually that's like a girl, right? Sometimes she takes the top off, so on and so forth. But the people who are in those environments usually understand more so about what could happen. Now, this place was packed like sardines. So any sort of like crazy movements would have created the chaos. And the thing that breaks my heart is the kid on top of the father, because how is he going to hold that kid up?
Yeah.
In the middle of what's pretty much a mosh pit. So I know people really want to blame Travis Scott, but he's like, if you blame Travis Scott, like, you have to blame.
I think we have to blame everybody that organized. I personally, my first thing when I saw the images, I was like, I felt like it's overpacked. And my first thing, it was like, at the end of the day, we still under, a pandemic. And if I was the person who organized the concert, I would limit the number of like assistants. So let's say if that place hold 50,000 people, I would probably just have, I don't know, 30,000 or 25,000, just because we also under a pandemic. And, like you said, people been locked in for a long time. So when they go out, some of them, don't know how to act. So I would have kind of reduced the chance. I would have tried to reduce the chance by maybe lowering the number of people. I don't know. That my first thing that when I saw that, I was like, I feel like it's too much going on. I would have make a less of a bigger event. Like a smaller event, but still a great event to maybe prevent that kind of stuff. But I think everybody's to blame. Whoever organized that, whoever didn't stop the show on time.
But I think it was his responsibility still to.
At some point, you see him saying like, "Hey, someone is sick," like removing or something like that. You see video of him saying that. But
my thing is, I feel like he didn't do enough, and I think a lot of people think he didn't do enough because there were so many people going after him and trying. And I mean, when you work in this concert, the people that work in there, they all have the
little microphone, the little earpiece.
Yeah, the earpiece, so they can talk to each other and see what's going on. I mean, it went on for like 45 minutes, I think. 45 minutes of
but him on the earpiece, he doesn't necessarily
hear whatever the people said, but the people that works with him.
He hears the
and
music.
Then he had people coming up on stage, and he was like, oh, okay, all that, and he didn't care, and he just keep on going.
Do you think he was maybe also high
I think
himself?
he was careless. I was thinking, probably too. I don't know, probably.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he was in a really challenging. I know that it's once again, it's like, it's a tragedy. And I'm not defending Travis Scott, though, even at the slightest. And I'm not saying that he couldn't have done something better. But I think when things happen in life, you look back and you can say, I could have done this better. I could have prevented this car accident. I could have done all these things. And it's really hard. I mean, unless you're on stage and you see that environment, like how you don't even know what his process really is. Are his eyes even open? When he's looking at the crowd like a public speaker, is he looking at one person or is he looking in a direction? How does he handle chaos in the middle? There's no way to say that Travis Scott.
I think he should do a drug test. That's what he should do. That's what
you most likely that everybody that was up in here was probably high or
not everybody.
Not everybody, but
some people,
probably a lot of people were, but I heard his lawyer speaking, and he said that I guess apparently with the contract that he had, he wasn't one of the person who had the right to stop the show. Like, I guess few people had that kind of power, and apparently he wasn't in that position. So that's why I guess his lawyer, when saying like he should have stopped the concert, he kind of basically said that the person who were able to stop the concert didn't do it. He was just doing his job where he was performing. I guess he was in the mood. He was in his own, zone. But I know as an artist, and I understand your point, like if you see something going on, like take a minute, take a pause.
Yes,
and
it's
and
crowd control. You have to control your
out
crowd.
what happened, and try to maybe ask question, or maybe
And
ask
it's not the first time it happened.
Yeah, I mean,
It happened before. So my thing is that if you know it happened before, maybe at the beginning you thought it's not a
big
it's
deal.
like, oh, it happened before, it's not a big deal,
Yeah.
right? But as a singer, you have this responsibility to control the crowd. I mean, how can you not see people being like right there on the VIP and being crushed, and all these people falling around? I don't know how you cannot see. Then I wasn't there, so I don't know. My thing is that I don't even really knew Travis Scott before this thing.
I'm not going, like I told you.
I don't listen to his music or anything like that. I got interested because of this. I was like to understand who this person was and try to assess his character. And Elliot, there's one thing that he did at a concert that I thought really was disgusting. It was a previous concert where he jumped on the crowd, and there is someone who stole his shoe or tried to steal his shoe, and he got so upset, and he said then the security was helping him to get back on stage, and he's like, oh, he tried to steal my shoe, you thief. He spit on him and was encouraging the crowd to F him up, and the crowd was saying F him up, and he keeps saying that.
It was just like basically encouraging violence.
Yes, and the kid is 17 years old. Those stupid things that you do when actually you could have make light of the situation and do a joke out of it. And you know what? You should. A good guy will have to take off the other shoe and say, "Here, take my shoe.
Yeah,
Go ahead." Right?
At the end of the day, it's just a pair of sneakers, and I know you can.
And
buy
I
sneakers.
feel like this guy has a really big ego. And when people were asking him at that event, stop the show, like, what? Who are you telling me that I'm going to stop my show? This is my show.
I understand your point.
That's how he came across, like a non-caring person.
Yeah.
And I think that's why people are upset.
I feel you when you say that. But I think also hearing a lot of people talking about the experience in your show,
right?
they were really basically saying that they were in hell. So
yes,
they were just like, oh my God, that's
everybody.
Like PTSD type of situation where I don't know if I'm going to be able to recover from that mentally, seeing like dead bodies and stuff like that. So I don't think that's the experience that you want to go someone that you see that you like the music, and then you end up basically being completely traumatized. But then again, that's why I guess we were talking about what we're talking about today, where whatever music you listen influence your mind, your body, your soul, your behavior. So and for me, and we always talk about how the music nowadays is just like, I don't even connect with it because it's most of it for me is trash.
I don't listen, Elliot, I don't listen to nowadays to rap and hip hop music anymore. I mean, if the message is kind of violent or they say nasty things, I just don't like it, because I think, music is very powerful. It goes to your subconscious. And if you look, for example, at his event, a lot of people were saying on Twitters and Facebook, Instagram, all of that it was very evilish, and that it was like a satanic, how do you say that, ceremony?
I don't know if it was like that, but
people were saying, yes, people were saying, conspiracy theorists are saying that, this was sacrifice, whatever. But I don't believe that Travis Scott is a Satanist. I mean, I don't know him, so I could not assess that. I don't even really know what is a Satanist, right?
Me neither.
However, if you look at the album cover, I sent it to you.
You didn't. I know you told me you didn't like it.
He said himself as like a little demon, and it's really scary. And then the promotion for the event, it was like, "See you on the other side." His big head like looked crazy, and people going into his mouth, to get into the event. And apparently, when you look at the picture, like people said, it was very devilish. And I think probably they do it for fun. For him it's fun. It's like to put an ambience that's a little bit scary, and I think it's like his vibe, right? But I think people are not aware of
What
all
it can do
the
to you.
what it can do, and all of this has actually some type of symbolism.
Yeah.
And a vibration. Like I said, when you say love, it has a vibration. When you conjure the evil, that's I have a vibration as well. And people were saying like, oh, everybody was so excited, and even before the concert started. So I don't know. I mean, what's your take on that, Elliot?
Yeah. How do you feel about?
About what has been said about the satanic thing and devilish ambience.
And even like, how do you feel about music in general? Like,
The industry.
Well, I think, my father used to always say, just like, try to understand things in a simple way. The more complex your understanding attempts to become, the less realistic things will feel. And I think there's a lot of virtue signaling to atheism. It's like anti-theology, right?
Mm-hmm.
So basically, if Little Nas X can twerk on the devil, he's not a Christian. So the people in positions of influence in both politics and music and entertainment, and more so as this generation gets older, you have less and less people that believe in things, right?
yeah,
And
that's very true.
you almost have to tell those people through your graphics, through your imagery, that you can support me. I don't believe in anything. So you go from like the Lauryn Hills of the world and the Marleys, and even early Kanye and all that kind of stuff. There were artists that existed back then that could, Kanye made Jesus walks, right? But you look at the artists now, there's a tremendous amount of virtue signaling, whether it's good or bad, I don't know that, but, it seems to benefit artists' careers the more they can, basically make it black and white. So I think there's an anti-theology movement in America where people want to know if you believe in like a faith, Ironically, it's not Islam, so it's basically anti-Christianity probably. So if you start putting satanic imagery, if you do all those things, then you don't have to worry about the people that you're trying to convince to support. And it's not really about the fans; it's about the people that they want to support their music, like press, the individuals at the various DSPs that support the releases and so on and so forth. You're more likely to run into a person that thinks that it's cool to have like a satanic cover than to run into a person that is repelled by the fact that these images are in. So, there's really no incentive for an artist to say, okay, I'm going to put, an image of like Jesus Christ somewhere in a way that makes sense or something like that. So the music represents culture, right? So you can't be mad at music too much, because if the music feels a certain kind of way, you just have to, from an analytics perspective, say this is where the culture currently is. This is where America is. This is how Americans feel. I mean, you look at the rock and roll of the 50s, they had a hard time pushing through because America hadn't caught up to that, but America was on its way to that. They were complaining about Elvis moving his hips, and imagine what they would do with Meg Thee Stallion back then, right?
Yeah.
So the culture's changed. So the culture in America is very anti-theology, basically anti-Christian. And every artist that is successful, a lot of artists that are successful, basically are trying to make sure that they virtue signal those things,
Okay,
that
so that kind of makes sense now, because I just don't understand what is going on in the music industry, because like you said, it's something that I see repeatedly, and I'm just like, what is going on? And to me, I feel there is power behind the drums, and because especially in Africa, we use the music to go to trance, and not only in Africa. There is a lot of
even the Indians here, the Indian Americans.
Yes, they use music to go into trance for spiritual purpose, and that's why I believe that behind the music there is vibrations, and behind the lyrics as well.
Words
and
are powerful.
Yes, I mean, with you can change people's state, internal state with music. You can make someone feel sad, you can make someone feel happy, you can make someone be violent, you can make someone act outrageous. Like, for example, once I was saying to my friend Amina, and I was trying to explain her why I didn't like that, why I don't listen to this type of music anymore. And I used to, don't get me wrong, I used to love it, right? We used to go out, but I just stopped after, my DMT experience. And the thing, I was like, just watch. When we go to a club, I mean, it was, I don't go to a club, but it was like a, that bar.
Some kind of lounge.
Yeah, it's a lounge bar that's more frequented. How do you say that in English?
The crowd was more, you say, more urban.
Fréquenté, comment on dit en anglais?
I'm not sure.
Frequented, you say like this, Elliot? Fréquenté, like that's the type of people that goes there. Anyway, it's more like hip hop crowd. What do you say?
You said there was a ghetto crowd there?
No, I didn't say ghetto.
She didn't say none of that.
I heard you. I didn't say ghetto. I say hip hop crowd. No, because it's not. There is a little bit actually, but it's not all
Let's
that.
call
It's
it
more
an
like
urban crowd.
yes, it's more like a urban crowd and with hip hop music. But I told her, and she loved that place, so she would like tell me, let's go all the time. And I told her just watch people behavior. And I remember there is this song that came up. The song. I don't know who sang that actually. You're such a effing
My man Kanye West.
That's Kanye West.
Absolutely.
Oh.
And the other guy, the other kid, Elliot, that white kid with the purple hair. Lil something. There's a little in the name, but that's Kanye who does the. And
you see all the girl standing up and starting acting like such. I say, see what I told you?
Yeah.
See what, and they think it's fun. They're having fun.
Yeah.
But they're doing exactly what the music is telling them to do.
Yeah.
And same thing with guys. They're acting like they're all drug dealers all of a sudden. They're all like criminal. They have moving weights, like they say, I'm moving weights. It's just ridiculous. They're all acting like they are. So, and that's why I'm like, I don't want to listen to this type of music. And it's not only hip hop. It can be rock and roll or whatever is violent or has like a message that I feel it's negative or can have a negative impact on my state. I just don't listen to it.
But the only thing sometimes.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Can I ask Nadia? So,
Absolutely.
Do you watch television?
I do, and I know that there is some. Actually, Kezia was asking me if I watch Squid Game. Yeah, which I thought it's very disturbing. But same thing with television. It has, you basically hypnotize when you watch television. You're in a state of trance. The advertising, all the imagery and everything, it has an impact on you. That's why, for example, you will say like, don't watch a horror movie before you go to sleep or something. But it does affect your behavior as well.
So I have a question. So have you ever seen Narcos on Netflix?
No.
I did watch Narcos.
All right. So that's a documentary. That's a scripted television story on Pablo Escobar, right, and the Cali cartel and all that kind of stuff. Would you say that Netflix created the interest in Narcos, or people were really interested in what Pablo Escobar was doing?
I think because of who he is, people are fascinated by his story.
Yeah.
So automatically, I understand why people like the show. I mean, I like the show, and obviously, I even learned things that I didn't know about his life. And I think he's such an icon. I'm gonna say in that industry that you kind of want to see, okay, what it is to be Pablo Escobar, and I guess Netflix gave you a piece of that. Do I agree on everything that he was doing? No, because you can tell he was very violent things. But
we can agree that people were entertained by the story, right?
Absolutely.
Yes, and I think also, but it's also the fault of the media because they kind of make his life kind of.
We're not necessarily talking. We're not talking about fault or blame or whatever. We're talking about supply and demand, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, would people rather watch a Netflix television show on Pablo Escobar, or would they rather watch, some like Lifetime show about values and morals? And I think you have to look at music.
Yeah, I know. It's the same way.
You have to look at music the same way, right? So if you take an artist like, let's say, King Von, so they keep popping out murder investigations on King Von. So apparently King Von was killing people in real life, right? He's a rapper out of Chicago that was killed.
Yeah.
So apparently he was killing people in real life and rapping about it, right? So if you say, okay, the music industry is bad and people are, promoting this kind of stuff, well, it's not just that. There's an interest in the lifestyle, as horrible as it might be and as detrimental as it is to our community. It is entertaining to all races. The lifestyle of selling drugs and the living out the laws, it's like you can't look at a rapper that's rapping right now any different than like Jesse James or the movies that Clint Eastwood was putting out. If you just think of it collectively, Clint Eastwood was like riding around on a horse, robbing people, sleeping with their girl, and so on and so forth, and they just put a nice title on it, you know what I mean? You look at the good, the bad, and the ugly, there's a bunch of robbing going on in that. It's like the whole concept of the film is a bunch of guys that can't trust each other. I don't support the nihilism of our culture overall, how we treat each other, the fact that we sell drugs to each other and so on and so forth. But I think there is a rush to kind of over sensationalize the entertainment of hip hop in a way that doesn't pass to other races and ethnicities. James Dean's Rebel Without a Cause, but what's Rick Ross talking about? He's talking about being a rebel in Miami, running from the law, selling drugs, and picture comes out and shows that Rick Ross is a correctional officer, but he did a really good job of telling a story about, being a drug dealer. And that intrigue is not coming from control. It's coming from entertainment. People want to hear more about it. They want to be entertained by it. And when you put that with music, you can almost explain it as Jesse James to a beat or the outlaw to a beat. People want to be outlaws. People want to be entertained by outlaws. You look at all the cowboy movies made. Look at the top movies in the world. Look at the top shows. How does the Squid Games become a top show? This is not necessarily being controlled by people. They're feeding supply and demand. Ed Sheeran, Adele, like you have artists that provide whatever that feeling is that supplements the other thing. But the culture of hip hop and the culture of like the inner city culture and and this is not just like a black dude in Brooklyn. You're talking about a white boy in Texas needs that feeling. When you're listening to a football game, watching a football game, a college football game, look at the songs they're playing. When you're watching a football game, basketball game, everyone gets a feeling for that.
Yeah.
But I think maybe we need some type of a balance, because I feel like this is so much in our face that you almost see nothing but that, and you almost forget about the other good stuff, because there's other artists that does other things, but I feel like we don't see them enough, and everything is like wrong. Every time I'm seeing the same thing, like for me, all the female like rapper artists, they do the same things, they dress the same thing, they talk about the same thing. It's like, okay, what's next? Can we get a little deeper? Because even if you want to talk about something, I feel like every artist should be able to create a song that has meaning, you know what I mean? So everybody should be able to kind of, have a moment and reflect on something a little bit more positive. But all these songs back to back, the WAP these, the twerk these, it's like, okay, I get it. You can twerk. What's next? Every time I'm looking at the social media, all I see is like people twerking, people talking about bigger boobs, bigger butt. Okay, like what's next? So, and I feel like they feel.
I agree with that too. And I personally support artists that have like really good messages and context and substance to their art.
It's important.
I personally support that.
I think it's important.
But I also think we have to be careful, though. We have to be careful because it's not, as a human being, I don't support the nihilism in the Black community. I don't support how we treat each other and how.
That's the thing. For me, you see, when the fact that Travis Scott did that to his fan, it's kind of like, I would say more than 50% of the crowd was probably Black, right? So it's more your community that's coming to see you. And I think he treated them with such a lack of respect. These are people that most of them, they pay for their tickets. Yeah. They came to support this artist. And I felt like it was such a lack of respect, Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know. It's just so strange. I feel people are becoming so greedy nowadays.
But I think also one thing that you mentioned, Elliot, and when you were talking about like the demand and what people want, I just feel like people are just losing their value and losing their moral. And I think when you don't have any value and you don't have any moral, you just go deeper and deeper into that kind of stuff.
To the hole.
And you just get deeper into the hole. And I don't know, I feel like this new generation, it lacks, values, lacks, empathy, I don't know. It's very different. I don't,
Respect.
They lack respect. I'm scared for the younger generation. I'm really scared for them.
Yes. Yeah. I agree. I agree with you.
No, we need, like I said, we need balance. Like we can't just, the violence, the this, the that. Like I told you all the time. Like sometimes I used to listen to some Wu-Tang, but then I can listen to some Mozart. I can listen to some African music. I'm able to, listen all kinds of like genre, but I also sometimes like when I listen to music and I'm like, oh, he's saying this, he's saying that. I'm like, I don't want to listen to this. Like, this is garbage.
Guys, I found an article I wanted to share with you guys really quickly.
Yeah.
So basically, in 2001, in a mosh pit, a girl named Jessica Michalek she died of asphyxiation after being crushed at the Big Day Out music festival that Limp Bizkit was hosting. And I was talking to you guys earlier about Limp Bizkit because
is a rock group. Yeah, I know who they are.
Yeah, because I just imagine that the culture of Travis Scott's concerts is more like a Limp Bizkit concert, right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure if we start looking, we're going to find that there are a lot of deaths in concerts.
Yeah.
I know Puff, when he got his career started as a promoter in New York, he had deaths in a concert in New York when I think the stage fell or something of that nature. I don't know, but I'm not defending Travis Scott or defending anyone. It was a major tragedy because I believe that the venue and the people that were participating weren't ready for what was going on, and they weren't ready for that. I don't think so. It's like understanding Travis Scott is like running like a Limp Bizkit kind of show. Maybe you don't have your kid in the front on your shoulders, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't put a 9-year-old in a mosh pit. That's this young lady that.
You don't even leave your teenage, like 13, 14 years old. I wouldn't leave my 14, 13 years old to go to this type of concert. But I was just guessing most of the parents don't know.
They just didn't know. And all the kids at the Limp Bizkit concerts are, like I said, like they're in college, they're late teens. There's really not a family environment. So I think the complication at Astroworld is they had a mixture of so many different kind of people that really created even more chaos. You can't have children that close to what is equivalent of a mosh pit.
Yeah.
I know this is a tragedy, and I look at everything as a tragedy, and I think that human nature is we look at something bad that happens and we fix it for the next time, and everything gets better based on the bad things that happen in society, right?
Yeah.
But if we demonize people and say, okay, Travis Scott is this evil guy that had Satan, people are saying that he sacrificed to people.
I don't believe in that.
Yeah, that's crazy because at the end of the day,
people are reaching.
Yeah, they're reaching, and so. But the biggest thing is you never know what will happen to you in life, and when you're sitting there and you're being judged on what you could have done better, and you're looking at the damages that happened based on something you did, you want people to at least not go to the point where they're saying that you did what it just happened on purpose.
Yeah.
And that's what I don't like about the Travis Scott thing, that people are actually saying that he did this on purpose, when these white rock bands have been literally doing this on purpose for 30 years.
Yeah.
And people have been, and I didn't know when I was talking earlier, I just Googled it on my phone. People have been dying at their shows.
Yeah.
And CNN might have led with it for 5 minutes, but there's just a comfortable place that the media is in when it comes to
and the times are different now also, and I say that all the time, with social media everything is amplified 1000. So back then I guess in those concerts we didn't have that kind of fast media. So now it's like everybody can upload their own video and 100-page reports about it. Like you have 100 different versions. So it's really amplified to a place where it's just getting crazier and crazy. And I don't think, I'm not going to say he did that on purpose, but I think that they should have been more careful when they put the show together. And I think if people reach out for help or if people ask for the show to be stopped, they should have been more careful and take the time to assess what was going on and assess if everybody was good, and just, pause the show 10, 15 minutes, make sure everybody's all right, and get back to it. So, and I think that's what I think Najah was trying to explain, where the lack of, like empathy. And I know you want to do your show, and I know you want to perform for these people because they came and they spend money, but, take the time, and maybe that's what it needed.
If you're creating a mosh pit and people are passing out in the mosh pit, right? Mm-hmm. And you look down and you see people falling out, and you see all these things happening. I get it, but like I can also see from the other angle, like that's the style of what he's doing. So he thinks that the people are getting super crunk and super lit, and it's like everything's happening. Oh, like people used to like pass out at Michael Jackson shows. That's when the show was big. I'm not defending Travis Scott, but one thing I also want to talk about, since we're talking, when it comes time to cancel a Black celebrity, there's like so much support for that. Have you guys noticed that?
Very much.
I
so.
didn't feel like people were saying to cancel it. I didn't see that people were saying to cancel him.
I saw people were like, he should lose all of his money. He should be canceled. And I'm like, people are ridiculous. Like, yes, he's going to have to pay for some type of consequencing, but I saw multiple posts about saying that he should be completely canceled. He should lose all of his like partnership, all the like, the brands that work with him, they should pretty much like let him go. Like people really want him to lose everything. And I think that's a little bit over the top. And
well, personally, I don't care for him. After what I saw, I really don't care for him. A guy that is telling his crowd of 1,000 people to beat up a 17-year-old kid because he took his tennis shoe. I don't care for him. They can cancel him. I don't care. I totally don't care. I totally don't care. It's like.
But I understand your point, Elliot, about But then again, we do that to each other. So, at the end of the day, Travis Scott and whoever is involved, they're going to have to pay for it. They're going to have to...
Maybe you should sing about Jesus Christ next time.
I mean,
Come to the gate of heaven and maybe we'll see different type of behavior,
I mean, he's going to be also affected. I'm sure he's probably depressed right now.
I don't think so. He went to a party right after.
Really? Well, that's sad. I mean...
Now, he said that he didn't know. He said he didn't know the gravity of the event.
Someone would, you guys, I know, working with artists and just being in that world.
That's why we wanted you to be here, so you can explain us how it works. Like, for example, the fact that you're just saying that he probably didn't see what was going on, even if it seems like he's seeing things. The fact that he's in a state of trance while singing and is in his own little world that maybe he didn't see really what was going on. That I can understand now listening to you.
Travis Scott probably practiced that set 100 times.
Probably.
And practicing that set, you don't know what he was doing on that stage. He could have had his eyes closed. It's a different world. But I could also, once again, not defending him, but I could also see a world where he leaves stage and isn't aware that people have died at his show. It just doesn't work that way. It's like, you're insulated as a major artist. And Travis Scott is a massive artist. He's a massive individual. He's married to a Kardashian. He's huge. So it's not like he's leaving the stage and, that information has to be brought to him.
Yeah.
So if anything, you could talk about his team not being, maybe not getting the information to him quicker. And that's what people don't understand, the fragmentation of the business. Was his PR person with him at that very moment? Why would his PR person be running around with him after his show? His public relations person would definitely be able to explain to him that there's this thing going on, right? So he probably got those messages later. And this is the part that I don't like. I don't like where people know his character and they don't know him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like, when they start canceling brothers, it's we know him, we know what he did, we know what he intended to do, we knew what he wanted to do. He didn't care. He went to Chuck E. Cheese and was balling. He was like, "Oh, dead fans." Well, that's really cynical. Like if he's that person, then that's really crazy. But it's also not practical. Like, why would an artist think that their career could be sustainable if he wants his fans to die? Right?
Yeah.
That just doesn't make any sense.
I don't think he wanted them to die. But I think he liked reckless behavior, that it's kind of like his image.
Yeah, but that's once again,
that's a persona, I guess.
And it's a dangerous
Yeah,
thing to
once
do.
again, Limp Bizkit, Metallica, like people don't go to these. And if you go all the way back to Woodstock, Woodstock was not like going to church service. Woodstock was crazy. A bunch of hippies in the middle of the mud and the
Yeah,
rain
but the
doing
message was
crazy
more
stuff.
about love, no? Those EPs, they were like, oh, we love each other, we all one, and let's make love, and blah, blah, blah. I mean, that's when I think about
Yeah,
Woodstock, that's what I'm thinking about,
Singing about
right?
getting high up
but
in there.
love has risks too. I mean, you know, like if,
Love is
especially
dangerous.
especially in the 80s, you know, having unprotected sex in a concert environment could kill you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's so many things that you could talk about, you know, and like I said, once again, I'm not defending Travis Scott, but
Yeah.
I think it's kind of crazy that people are saying that this man is literally the devil because he was at this concert.
No, I mean, I think just
And
that he didn't do enough. Like, for example, when you see the ambulances, and the Kardashian has it on her Twitter, right? I think she tweeted a video
I'm
where
not sure.
you
I haven't
can
seen that.
see the ambulances and you see people dancing on the ambulance truck. I mean, they should have stopped that. They should have said something on the microphone, like just, hey, let them in. And don't tell me that people were not talking into their earpiece to talk to each other. It's like, we need to let the ambulance come in because they couldn't get in. So,
But
so for
that's
me, that's
if
what I
somebody,
find
but
it
then if
so
somebody
but
said
that,
to
tragic.
so
Travis,
that's
but
so
if
that is more also of a staff and organization
Yeah, it's so
issue.
tragic.
exactly,
It's like
exactly, but
what the hell the security was doing, who is managing
right,
the security, who is managing the health department, who is managing this.
exactly.
It involves more than one person. That's
I
why
agree, but again, it encourages this crowd to act
it,
recklessly. So you need
I
to
get
have a
that.
lot of people to
So that's
maintain
why
people acting like that. And there were thousands. How
Well,
many people were at the
let me ask you a
concert?
I don't know.
question.
I don't know.
I have a serious question. So, because I hate the fact that it feels like I'm defending Travis, but I'm
No,
just trying to
I
be.
don't think you like this. I think it's more like
You
trying
understand
to
both sides of the
understand the
story.
artist's side. Yes, because most of the
So let me
people
ask
are
you a
just like
question.
us. We only seen the images, and the images are very outrageous.
So, if that's the case, right,
Uh,
and there's an ambulance for a sick person at a concert, right? Why does it not make sense that after that one person or that two people who have literally been taken out in an ambulance are gone, that the show wouldn't go on, right?
I
What
understand your
people are
point, but
okay.
what I was saying is that it's not that the ambulance were leaving. The ambulance they couldn't get in. They will not leave let the ambulance come in to get those people out. That's the
so
problem. They
it's
didn't have enough medic. They say they were totally
so they were
over.
overwhelmed. That means
Yeah.
whoever organized the concert wasn't prepared. And I think you mentioned that
And when the
earlier.
ambulance is trying to come in, they cannot come in. And you have people, jumping on the car and dancing. Not let these ambulances reach the people that are not feeling well.
So
Now that's something that could have been done better.
that
Right?
yeah,
Those
that
are
Yeah.
means
things.
whoever
Those
the
are things that could
organization
be done
wasn't
better.
prepared for that amount of people, and that's why I was like, maybe they should have probably make the decision to maybe sell less ticket or to, you know, uh,
They could have
limit the
done
number.
something different with those things that you guys are talking about. There are things that could have been done with that. I think the only thing that I'm basically trying to get across is that we don't know Travis Scott's
No, we don't.
character and what he wanted to do and how much he cared about those people. But I do think that the ambulances could have gotten there quicker. I think that there's lessons learned, from this process that I think will change the concert experience for a long time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And I think people will understand. But it's a heartbreaking situation.
Yeah.
I'm
It
not
is.
I'm not going to say that Travis Scott is somewhere right now playing Call of Duty, eating pizza like he's not hurt. These things affect each other. Henry Ruggs, a player for the Oakland Raiders, had a DUI
yeah,
and
and
killed a
hurt a
person
killed
there.
a person. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. So, people were beating him up and, Derek Carr, I mean, because it's a horrible thing. You shouldn't be driving drunk. And you definitely shouldn't, someone shouldn't die because of your recklessness. That's crazy, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
But
He's
Derek
probably
Carr, his quarterback, came out and
feeling a
made a
certain
good
type of
point.
way
Like,
about himself right now,
people are
and he
acting
needs
like
to
he
be
was in
left.
prison,
And if no one
playing
else will do it, I'll do it.
dominoes and, having a great time. Those things eat at those people too. So as a human race,
Mm-hmm.
we're doing weird things now that, where we're using the mob to, basically drive the nail in, to really put the nail into a person's chances of overcoming something that they did. And it's against the tenets of all faith, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
where you can't recover from something. Like Listen to how you're referring to him now that you found this clip of him telling him to beat the shoe up. This guy's canceled to you forever, but you never met him. You never had a conversation with him. You don't know his heart. You don't know the things that he does in the community. We don't know the full scope of people, but more importantly, you know, for thousands of years, people have been allowed to come back from things that they've done.
I
You know, this is
agree,
not,
but I need to see behavior, like you said. If he's done like great things after that, I would love to see it, but I didn't. And the other things I saw was his ex-manager that was saying that he had a seizure. He was epileptic. He had a seizure in his basement, and Travis Scott and his team just left him. He could have died. So I was just like, oh, so it's kind of the pattern. The guy does just really don't care, and he only cares about himself. It seems like it from what I've seen.
I think we just have to be careful.
Yeah,
you know,
I agree.
Because he's, you know, the way I landed on that, because we're having an overall conversation about music, but I think the conversation is about society, right?
Yeah.
Because society is changing in a way that's extremely nihilistic, and you start looking at the destruction. It's like, you know, 1 second we can't wait to go to Astroworld, and the next second we all can't wait to destroy Travis Scott, and it's almost like a sport, as if the people aren't real. You know, and then you wake up one day and you look at Michael Jackson, all the drugs.
It's like the Squid Game.
You
Yeah,
know,
it's like a Squid
but,
Game.
you know,
like it's right now is your friend,
things,
tomorrow
right?
is your enemy.
People die from the pressure of being, you know, scrutinized and destroyed and demonized as well. You know, famous people,
sure.
like the money isn't everything. But back to the music conversation about trying to create, you know, better music. You know, there's a reason that the music, the darkness of the music, has such a large audience, and you can look within our community at the family structure and, you know, how many single family homes there are, how few parental influences there are. So the rappers are basically rapping about what more and more kids see and what more and more kids want to see. The music represents the culture. So I don't like any of the music that has crazy messages.
It's because I think you can
understand it.
I think you can still talk about your experience living in your neighborhood and all the things you go through, but still have a positive messages.
Yeah, but Shania Twain's doing that right now. You have older artists like if Sade comes out with a record right now that exists, you know, there's a hyper focus on the kids and what they're doing, and not understanding the culture. You know, like you, because of your upbringing, can turn that off and say that I could just not hear that.
Mm-hmm.
But when the kids hear it, it's better to understand why, because if you want to make change in that, you have to understand society and why somebody would like, you know, it's like Dave Chappelle said, you know, like the baby killed a brother in Walmart and that didn't affect his career at all. And you have to understand why that is. Not what is the value of a black life between two black people, right? You know, forget what happens when a white cop gets involved, or white people, or racism, or systemic racism. What is the value of a black life between two black people? What is the value of a black life in a boardroom, in a courtroom, in a basketball court, at a grocery store, at a Walmart, like in the baby's case? Like, what is the value of a black life within the black community? And why is it so good for black people to hear music that denigrates that value, that takes that value lower and lower and lower and lower? That's the real questions you have to be answering, because that you're not going to find the answer to that in the music industry. You're going to find that answer within society itself. It's a society issue that we have. So I find myself more than I used to when I was younger defending the culture of black artists, because I think that until society changes,
that music is not really going to change.
Their music can't change. You look at these young kids; they're growing up in this world. It's like, you know, it's like Biggie grew up in that world too. You know, like, you know,
the violence.
Biggie was authentic because he was in that. He was in that. He was selling drugs. You know, people were getting killed around him when he was working, and like all this kind of stuff. So Malcolm X had this thing that he said in the autobiography of Malcolm X that where prisoners of circumstance or whatever, where some people that would be like engineers run numbers because they were born in Harlem, right? But if that same person was born somewhere else, they'd work at NASA. That's what Malcolm X said, like we're prisoners of our own circumstances. King Von would be probably still an artist at some point, and if he didn't grow up in Chicago, then maybe his content would be different. So instead of looking at the kid's content, I tend to look at society, and then and as society changes, the music itself will change.
I guess you gotta have the street cred up in here. You gotta, street cred.
That's sad.
That's everything. But we just have to work on society. And, it's like, I don't listen to any of the music. I don't listen to King Von. I don't listen to any of those things. But I've grown to understand that the environment, exists. I'm from Atlanta. So, we have to create ecosystems where artists feel comfortable making that kind of music. And I think there are a few artists, Nadia, that you should, that push you towards that, like the J. Coles of the world and the Kendrick Lamars of the world. There are artists that are trying to balance that.
But I feel like, you mentioned those names, and I feel like all that other stuff is so much like overpowering that sometimes I think we forget about these people. We forget about the J. Cole. We forget, like, everybody's like, oh, the Dregs is dig, and I'm like, but they also those other dope, artists, and I feel like we don't see them enough because they overshadowed and overpowered by that other mess,
Well, that's how you feel, right?
That's just how I feel. That's just my opinion.
Let's talk about the data, right?
Yeah.
So I just pulled up the top 20 artists on Spotify. The number one artist in the world is Drake, the number one streaming artist. And we can all agree that Drake's music has
it's entertaining.
It's not that bad. Yeah.
The number two artist is Ariana Grande.
Okay.
The number three artist right now is Taylor Swift.
Okay.
The number four artist is The Weeknd. The number five artist is Ed Sheeran. The number six artist is Post Malone. The number seven artist, J Balvin. The number eight artist is Billie Eilish. The number nine artist is Dua Lipa. Number 10 artist is Bad Bunny. 11 is Justin Bieber. The point I'm trying to make is, although it feels like that to you, and that's
most of the people listening to positive music.
Yeah, people are literally listening to positive. Right. So at the end of the day, it's like, we focus on when we start focusing on our youth in a certain kind of way, we're pressing narratives that somebody else is pressing. 45 of the top 50 artists that are being listened
positive
to
music,
have positive messages. So there's a way that we feel sometimes, and then there's like the data.
Yeah.
And so I always like to go back to the data because other people can make you feel a certain kind of way.
But numbers don't lie.
Yeah, but the numbers don't lie. So at the end of the day, we're focusing on the music, because we're bitter about certain things in the society that we want to change, but it still isn't. It isn't controlling the way that we think it is. It's just controlling our minds in a way that's negative.
Yeah, that's a good,
very interesting. That's a very good point.
Good point. Yeah.
All right. Well, Elliot, that was a very interesting conversation.
Well, yeah, and I'm just hoping that they're gonna figure out how to move forward. I'm hoping that people who are going to organize concert next are going to take the proper care, they're going to make the proper measure to make sure something like that never ever happen again. I really hope that, like you said, Elliot, we're learning from our mistakes, and that's how we can, do better. And I'm really hoping that the next time there is a big event at a big concert that we will never have to face something like that again.
Yeah.
So I want to remain positive, and hopefully everybody's going to come out stronger than ever.
That's right.
Elliot, anything you want to share?
No, that's it. I appreciate you ladies for having me on this wonderful conversation and allowing me to share my
we would love to have you again because you're spicy. I like people that contradict me.
Well, Nadia, we just got to make sure you don't sound like a white supremacist when you start talking about the
white supremacist.
No, yeah. I don't even take it in the wrong way. For me, I'm learning
because also for us, not being American, we learn every day about this culture.
Yeah, or it came across. Or,
exactly, because like I say, we French, we say some things, and sometimes we don't even realize that it's affecting other people, and then the way we say things. So it's a good thing that you checked us about how we say things, so we don't do that again. So we don't get, too much like, shot fire in the comments. But yeah, definitely would like to have you again and share your opinion on, so many other topics.
Appreciate you ladies for having me. I'm we're all a family here, so whenever you need me, just let me know 24 hours advance.
We will. And you know what though? Don't forget to subscribe.
And don't forget to like,
share, comment, everything, So we'll see you guys very soon. And thank you for joining us today.